It is now June 27th, Wednesday, and this is the progress on the garden. It is now, I measure it about 9.5 feet tall. These are just 12 tomato plants growing in a 3-foot by 4-foot area, and there are hundreds coming in now. In fact, today I've got one black Krim right here that's ready for harvest. This is what it normally looks like. This is a small one. Most of them are going to be pretty big. It's just the first one to harvest. Now, as you can see, there is no insect damage. There's been a couple breaks here and there, but I've been mending them with nori. And as you can see, where there was a split here, it's doing well. Every little nori bandage, it's holding up perfectly. Now remember, this is uncooked, raw, organic nori. If you get the cooked stuff, it doesn't really work that well. Not even that sticky. Now, because it's been growing out of control, I've actually been using twine to tie it up in an unusual way. I'm not just tying it up, I'm tying it back. Like this branch is being held up to there. This one's being held over here. Here, I've got a branch pulling this up and that up. And this is just because a lot of them like to grow just towards the light. And up here especially, where they were growing around, I've got a couple lines of twine just pulling it all up. Now, there are no pests with the tomatoes whatsoever. Everything is growing wonderfully thanks to the use of trace minerals and organic fertilizers. However, there are two pests in this garden. The broccolis made a dramatic recovery after we had a little scare with aphids and little green caterpillars. I had to use a soapy water spray 2 days in a row to take care of them, but to take care of the problem permanently, I've ordered some wasp eggs, little tiny wasps that don't sting, and they lay their eggs in the eggs of the green caterpillars. As far as the aphids go, the aphids are actually being placed on the plants by ants. A soapy water spray isn't really a very effective solution because they'll just place themselves on again. I mean, these plants are doing pretty well regardless, even if I don't get it. The rate of growth, thanks to the trace minerals, totally makes up for any damages or losses. But I'm going to be purchasing once I find a local shop that carries them, a large number of ladybugs to eat all the aphids. And starting next year, when I start everything off, I'm going to maintain a healthy colony of those small wasps, along with yellow jackets and green lacewings. Now, green lacewings are another little critter that eats aphids and other pests, but they're also pollinators, which is pretty good. So anyway, as you can see, everything's going pretty well. These tomatoes are getting pretty well as well. And here's the pepper, and every day I've got to check this for little growths because it keeps trying to set fruit. But if you allow it, like right here, if you allow this to set fruit, it'll stop growing upward. And if you keep pulling off the fruit until it gets a good height, then you can actually get it to grow a lot more fruit. Now in here we have carrot, radish, and this is beet. And they're all going close together, and that's perfectly fine. This actually was a bit, well, this was actually up to here. The topsoil is settled, so next year I've got to reset this. But I've got a full irrigation system installed for all the plants. And starting next week, I'm going to begin building the next section. Attached to here, there's going to be, probably right around here, will be the face of it, a 10-foot by 5-foot extra length. So next year the tomato garden will be here to increase yield even more and to increase the production of other plants in the garden. And given how tall these get, I just routed them in the back anyway. And there's going to be a fence there, so everything's going to look really nice, but it'll be a lot of hard work. Also, what's doing really well are these little guys. Now this, as I mentioned before, is a branch cutting. A little over a month ago, this little guy broke off, and I transplanted it just stuck it in the ground. Didn't do anything special, no chemicals, no enzymes, just stuck it in the ground. It wilted a bit. I trimmed some branches to the most wilted branches, and then it started to recover, and then it's just rebounded from there. And now it's over twice the height it was, and it looks like it's about to start setting fruit. I don't expect to get much fruit out of this one, but it's still more than it otherwise would if I just let the branch die. Right here the other day, when this piece here set fruit, it bent down there, so I tied it up and then used nori to repair it, and it's doing fine. The kale is doing beautifully, although we planted this a bit too late, so it's not getting as big as it otherwise would. But it's been delicious. Every few days I cut a few leaves, even the ones that have some minor insect damage, the older ones especially. The taste is not affected by holes. There's no problems eating whole leaves. So I just usually stick them in a blender and have them in a smoothie. This is the other tomato plant that a couple days ago I transplanted. The heat's been getting to this one, so I think I need to water this more. These branches are dead, so I got to trim these ones off to save as much as I can. Now the thing is, and it's got water in there. The thing is, when you transplant a branch and you stick it in the ground, all these little hairs are potential roots. So it'll thicken up and start growing, but until it produces a good root system, it's not getting enough water to all the branches. So you have to be able to pick and choose what to clip and what not to clip. The farther away it is, the more potential damage it is. But as you can see, this is no longer that flimsy. I mean, it looks flimsy, but it's been hardening off. So this thing's going to rebound really soon. And actually, if I don't do anything at all, I'm pretty sure this will rebound just fine. So I'm thinking I'm going to leave these leaves alone and just allow it to grow some new leaves once it gets its roots going along. Now this is bird netting. The tomato plant patch we have is way too big to grow over it, but by wrapping it around the tomato plants, which was on there the other day, we took it off to harvest today, by putting it around the plant, we can at least keep some pests from getting into it. Now, we don't have any problems with squirrels or raccoons, although they are in the area, or birds, and everything's going pretty well. I put these brackets in here because when I first built the wall, I didn't put an inside bracket. Should have put an L piece in here. Because I didn't do that, it started slipping a bit. I mean, this is concreted in very well, but there was just some slight forward warping here. So I put these in to keep it from warping any further, and the top is still level, and it prevented any further slipping. Same thing down there. But when I build the extra extension, I'm going to do a little bit better. Since I have this area down here, next season, I'm going to put a little L piece in here as well, just to hold it together. One last thing I need to do is I need to actually treat this wood. I mean, it's green treated wood, but it's not really the best for just sitting outdoors in the rain and stuff right now. I'll be buying some tung oil from the tung tree and using a citrus-based primer, and then just painting all this after the growing season. And I'll probably be doing the same thing before I even build the next wall. And that way it'll hold better, it'll look nicer, and it won't need to be painted. It'll just be like this natural, pretty dark brown. Anyway, that's the basic update of the garden. And it's a work in progress. I mean, I have about a half an acre to an acre yard landscaping, and it all needs to be worked through eventually. So it'd be nice if I could have got an extra 5 foot by 5 foot area, but money's an issue, so just spend about $500 at a time, extend the garden little by little, and it may be expensive and it may be hard work, but the payoff is tremendous. Now, one last thing. This type of retaining wall will last us maybe 10 to 20 years, but it's probably not going to last permanent. It's cheaper than railroad ties like some neighbors across there have, and it holds up straighter, and it's good for when you need some regrading, but it is a couple $100 project. When I have some more money, I'm probably going to, in the future, when it has to be redone, probably do it with stone. But for right now, this is a good project, and although it's expensive, the payoff in crop yield is going to be higher than the cost of the wall, so it's still a good investment. That's pretty much it. I will update when I have more information.